Hey everybody, how's it? This is Jeebs, your old composer here on the World Music Reaction and Review channel. I'm going to do something I have never done before, not even on my other channel, my heavy metal channel, is when I A-B an original with a cover. In this case, this is really exciting for me. This came from a comment, so that's why I love when you guys leave comments. You teach me things, you show me things, you know, educate me on who's playing this. And in this case, somebody left a comment and said, dude, since you love metal, you've got to do this comparison. And this is what I'm excited about. Number one, huge fan of the whole Marty O'Donnell, Michael Salvatore team, which is going to be one of the tracks we're listening to. This is from Destiny 2. The name of the track is, I might get this wrong, Sepiks Prime? Sorry. Also included in that composing team is C. Paul Johnson and Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney. And he mentioned that in a podcast that I did with him. If you didn't see it, I got that podcast here. I'll put that link down below. Anyhow, the next track is going to be a cover of this particular song or track in the video game of Destiny by Misha Mansoor, which I am just a tremendous fan of this talent, of his talent as a composer. You know, I think I did my very first reaction on Periphery going, okay, here we go. And then all of a sudden it opened up with this kind of powerful, anthemic or call to action orchestral composition. And I was like, wait, what am I listening to? The right thing? And then the boom hit with the guitars and everything. And then, of course, you know, hearing a few interviews with him, he just seems like the kind of guy that I would love to just completely geek out, or, you know, composer style. Maybe I should ask him for a, see if I can't try to get him for a podcast. What do you think? Considering that he loves video games and heavy metal, that just kind of works in my orbit here. So anyhow, so I'm excited to bring this to you. The very first listen is going to be of the Michael Salvatore, C. Paul Johnson, Marty O'Donnell, Paul McCartney track from Destiny 2, this track. I'm like, don't get me going. First cup of coffee, I'm already there. All right, guys, let's do this. All right. This is, whoa, did they add marimba there? I guess when I start it back up, I'll catch that. This is classic power, tension, anxiety, kind of chase style composition. The bounciness of the double basses that are holding that bottom end, you know, with the strings that we're hearing. I love that technique. I love that style of composition. Because it's being written for a video game, I'm going to assume that the video that's playing behind this is a very high action piece, because that sets the agitation of anxiety, of that, you know, and it starts and it grows and it builds. And then what I love is when there was a very soft I don't know if it wasn't a quarter note. It was like a half note, a dotted half note. It sounded like where before the horns really became super apparent, there was like it was a little bit of a pulse. It went poof, not poof. But I was like, oh, I like that, because we already were locked in with the what the double bass was doing, and then the French horns start to grow, and then we get into more of the anxiety by using a technique in the French horns. It's called ripping. You know, there's different ways to write it, or you know how you conduct it. What that is that rip, and it literally sounds like a rip, rip. And every time that something like that is in any kind of a composition, in most cases, if it's a composition for media, something's chasing you, or something just showed up out of somewhere, or some point of action just happened. And then they start building into the arrangements. You know, there was another, can't think, right? There was another arrangement that came up in the string section, probably in the violas and in the violins, that was kind of playing slight answer back with it. Something else that was really cool that I liked is the very mellow, in the sense of a snare drum, could have been very aggressively played, how it's very lightly being that tempo. And it seems like every 16 bars they're building more on the arrangement and stuff. And then they come in every now and then, thus far, with these more of these glassy, you know, half note, whole note, the melody, more of the melody, if you would. But in this case, it's a dual thing. Because a melody doesn't have to be something with big intervals and something that's all over the place. Something that sticks in your head intentionally could be melodic in its sense of, which heavy metal, a lot of the darker riffy stuff, sometimes that becomes more of a melodic hook than, let's say, any kind of lead point. Brief stop here. What I love about this is in the arrangements, they lift the burden of the heaviness off of the double bass, how it started, and then decided that more of the arrangement of the, what am I looking for? Not the arpeggiation, but went into the mid-range of the string section, and the bolder bottom end pulsing of the French horns took over that heavy burden of intensity at the bottom. And it seems to me like if I was watching something at that point now, whatever was the character, let's say, of the bottom double bass is now maybe in fight or flight, because that character in my mind of the strings doing that has now gone up a little bit, and that gives it a little bit more like of a little pensive I'm hiding thing, and now the big guy's coming behind you, which is but that's me. right, well, so because of the fact that I'm going to chalk this up to it being a composition for a video game, it really stayed orchestrally in a particular pocket, since I don't know what campaign this is written against. So, but I think I may have nailed it by saying a very agitated, a very kind of warring, chasing kind of vibe. Locking it into this pocket and being very consistent with everything kept the anxiety and the heart, you know, pounding kind of type of composition always in your throat. And that was really super powerful. Last thing I want to say about this before we check out the Misha Mansoor version is when they did come in with those whole notes, I got a little bit of a 007 vibe with that. You know, was that the Paul McCartney influence there? No, I'm kidding. But it did. It felt like that. That kind of growth in the hook right there kind of had a little bit of a 007 kind of a thing going on there. So this was great. That was extraordinary. Now, here we go. What I'm going to do now is give me a second here, and I am going to set up for the version, the same exact track, but this was done by Misha Mansoor, who, if you don't know, and I can at least tell you, he's a tremendous, not only a tremendous composer, but his band Periphery that he's a part of, or I don't know if he made, if it was his first and members came along, there is a sense of that composer thing in their work. Like I said earlier, that's why I'm really excited to hear this. So I'm really pumped to see what he does with this. So stand by. Let me go ahead and get myself rigged up for this. Let me see, where is he? He's right here. All right, here we go. So this is the cover by Misha Mansoor of Sepiks. I'll get that, I promise I will. Let's do this. All right. All right, now I'm going to go into kind of a heavy metal mode breakdown moment here. First of all, the sound and the tones of that bass that he's using is just absolutely mind-crushing. The bass is always the unsung hero in a lot of, bands and stuff. You know, the guy that you think is sitting off in the corner or something holds so much of the bottom end. I love that he stays really close. He keeps the integrity of the cover in check by not going way too far out there and trying to do something extraordinarily different in this as a cover. In of itself, because it's just, even if he covered note for note, did everything exact, just by virtue that it's all metal and drums and stuff like that, sets itself with its own, feeling and vibe and stuff. It is darker, it is heavier, obviously. What I love is also, as he starts to kind of build along the same lines as the original Bills, he does kind of slip in slightly melodic, not solo, but these lines, just, these half notes or whole note lines that are singing lightly behind it. But, it sounds like in him wanting to keep the respect of the cover, he pulled that back just a little bit. So it's there, and I heard it, and it was not part of the melody or anything that I heard in the first, in the original. That's when people start putting their own little signature things or sounds or melodies in a cover. But like I said, by virtue of the fact that this is a metal cover of this already, it's completely different. The power is also different. So it's just as visceral and just as, throat punching as the original track. But, obviously because the drums are going, since it's going, everything is crushing, and you're already hitting this at the beginning. It's the tones of the guitars and stuff of heavy metal that gives you that. That's why, fire, fire. That's heavy metal is known for, people who listen to heavy metal in most cases are very, charged and energetic in that way. But let's just keep going. You just can't compare them truly. I mean, in my world, in the sense of, like I said earlier in the first stop, this is a heavy metal cover of a piece of music that has a different width of breathing space in its tones. Two different, completely sounds, obviously. I mean, that's stupid of me to say. But what really makes this, this was probably a little bit of a conflict with Destiny players. Like, it's not which one is the best, because they're both extraordinary. And what Misha did was a cover of an existing piece. It's just, the game is set in a particular tone that was originally written by Michael Salvatore and Marty and Paul. And so there isn't, I'm definitely not here to say one is better than the other. This obviously has a more powerful, stronger kick to it, and no pun, because there was double kicks, the drums were going in, whereas the original one was more of that feeling of, I'm sure it gave everybody, which is that sneaky tension, call to action kind of vibe, and so there is no comparison, there is no verse. Because I'm a metal guy, I really loved what Misha did, but because I'm also a composer and an orchestrator and so on and so forth, of course I love, the original as well. So it's really, I don't even know if I'm saying, what do you think is the best, because I'm not that guy. But it was a great experience for me to do that. I have never done that. So as far as listen to an A and B like that, I think Maybe I did one over there, I'm not sure. Anyhow, listen, very long video. Thank you for hanging out. If you're still here, type in I'm still here. Thank you for the likes or the dislikes or the comments and sharing this through your social media profiles. And if you want to support me, you know where to buy the cup of coffee. The links are down below. If you want to check out the headsets that I'm wearing, the AKG 240s, the link is down below. All right, guys, take care. I've got a super, super special Halo campaign 1 hours coming up. I don't even know what I'm going to call it yet at the end of this week. So hang out for that one. All right, guys, take care. See ya.